Hey guys, it's James here from eBassGuitar. In today's bass guitar lesson, I'm going to show you how to approach playing the legendary Miles Davis tune, So What, on the bass guitar. If you're a beginner to intermediate bass guitar player, make sure you check out this lesson all the way to the end. Hey guys, it's James here from eBassGuitar.com, and in today's lesson I want to talk about how to approach playing the legendary Miles Davis tune, So What, on the bass guitar. If you're in the early phases of wanting to go and play a jazz jam session, they're highly likely to see this tune because it crops up very regularly. On the surface of things, it's very simple, but that's what can make it so deceptively difficult. So I want to talk about some strategies and concepts to make sure you can play So What accurately. But first of all, let's give you a taster of what we're going to cover in today's lesson. So What is what's called a modal jazz tune. Modal jazz is a style of jazz which was developed in the late 50s and early 60s by guys such as Miles Davis. It was kind of the antidote, I guess, to the complicated bebop chord sequences which had happened in the late 40s and early 50s. So What, on the surface of things, is very simplistic because it only contains two chords, a D minor 7 and an E minor 7, but this is what can make it deceptively difficult. The reason So What can be tricky is because it's based on a 32 bar form where there's not actually that much going on. You can split it into 4 8-bar sections where there's literally just one chord going on at a time. So for instance, the A sections are just based on a D minor 7 chord alone. So what happens is you play 2 A sections which have this D minor 7 chord, and then halfway through the form it shifts up to the B section which is based on an E minor 7 chord, just up a half step, so you get this sudden surprise, and then it comes back down to a D minor 7 again for the last 8 bars. The thing as a bass player when you're starting to play walking bass on this, it's very easy to get lost, and on that chord change you've got to be very definite. So what I'm going to do now is show you some tips and strategies to make sure you always know where you are. So the first thing to appreciate is the melody has this call and response idea going on. So the lead instrument will play this, and then the rest of the band will answer with ba-da. Then that idea repeats. Ba-da, da-da, da-da, ba-da. And that's the first 8 bars. Then it is played again. So da-da, ba-da, ba-ba. Then we shift up a half step into E flat, so we get this sudden jump. Ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba. Then we go back down to the D minor again. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-ba, ba-ba. So that is how the melody is constructed, and it's really important to appreciate that to begin with. So once you appreciate how the melody works, the next most important thing is to be able to play simple walking bass, but always keep the form, because it's so easy to get lost in these endless bars of D minor 7. So as I said right at the beginning, this is based on a style of jazz called modal jazz. So when we just see a D minor 7 chord, we can play the scale of D Dorian over this. So I'm going to play this for you now, which is a D, an E, an F, a G, an A, a B natural, a C, and a D. If you think of it in terms of intervals, it is the root, the second, the flattened third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the flattened seventh, and the octave. So make sure you learn the D Dorian scale to begin with, and then also put it up into E flat as well. So we get this. So we're just shifting that shape up a half step. So how I teach students to approach playing walking bass on this to begin with is just creating a simple 2-bar walking bass line based on the D Dorian scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this bass line here, which is just literally walking up the scale up to the 5th and then coming straight back down. So that is D, E, F, G, A, G, F, E, D. And that is a 2-bar bass line. And the thing is, it always anchors back to the root, and that leads our ear back to that really important note. So that's a 2-bar bass line, which we can play 4 times over the A section. And then what we want to do is we want to shift that again into the next A section, so we will play that 4 times. And then what we do is we shift it up a half step so we can hit the E flat like that and play that 4 times and then back down. But the thing is, mentally what I'm doing all of the time is making sure I know exactly where I am. I'm concentrating super hard, because what we want to be able to do is hit that sudden E flat with confidence. So what I actually do is I count out the sections. So I'm going to demonstrate how this works in context with the backing track now, so you can hear what I'm thinking. So here's the A section. Second riff, 3rd riff, 4th riff, 2nd A section, 2nd riff, 3rd riff, 4th riff, then we're up to the B section, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and then we're back down to the A. D minor, 2nd riff, 3rd riff, 4th riff. So for me, that's by far the easiest way to start learning it and to ensure you don't get lost. But what happens over time is you start to naturally learn where the beginnings and ends of the 8-bar sections are, and you just start to feel them, and you'll get more and more confident. But it's always good to have a higher level of concentration, because if you've got a soloist going wild, it's very easy to get lost and dragged off in a different direction. So guys, just before we hit the lesson content, I want you to know there's a completely free PDF which comes with this lesson, where you can see everything we're discussing today written out in standard notation and tab. There's a link in the description below where you can grab your free copy. Also, if you want to grab the backing track we're using today, you can get this over at eBassGuitar.com, as it's part of the Jazz Jam backing track album volume 1. So guys, if you're enjoying this lesson and want to discover more about how to create walking bass lines and modal jazz, make sure you check out my book, The Essential Guide to Walking Bass, because there's a whole chapter on how to create Dorian-based walking bass lines. You can grab the book over at eBassGuitar.com, or you can get it at Amazon.com too. So once you're totally comfortable using a 2-bar walking bass line over the form of So What, and you're ensuring that you don't get lost within the 32-bar sequence, the next stage is to create more 2-bar walking bass lines just like that. So I've created this idea called riff packs, which are 2-bar walking bass lines which you can superimpose at any point over the So What form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through each of those 2-bar walking bass lines one by one. So riff number 1 is just the riff that we learned earlier, which is going up the scale just 1 note at a time. So the 5th and coming back down, which you should already know. Now riff number 2 is literally doing D, playing each note twice. So that's 2 Ds, 2 E's, 2 F's and 2 E's. Don't worry, all of these riffs are written out in the free PDF which comes with this lesson, link in the description below. Now riff number 3 is playing the scale with this idea of thirds. So what we're going to do is this, which I really like. So that is a D, an F, an E, a G, an F, an A, and then back to the G and an E like that. So it's a great exercise too. Now riff number 4 is this, and we drop down below on the last note. So let me take you through each note one by one. It is a D, an E, an F, and an A is the first bar, and then the second bar is D, F, E, and then dropping down to the C like that. So and then the last riff is starting at the top of the D Dorian scale and coming back down like this. So, but just changing the last note so it's an A like that. So, so what I'm going to do to finish the lesson off is I'm going to play the melody through, then I'm going to use the 5 riffs that I just showed you to create a walking bass line over the form, and then I'm going to break out a little bit so you can naturally see the bass lines that I would play in context over One, So What. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So guys, that's the end of today's bass guitar lesson. If you've enjoyed this lesson, make sure you download the free PDF cheat sheet so you can see everything we've discussed today written out in standard notation and tab. Also, if you're looking to push your bass playing forward, make sure you check out the Bass Lab Plus over at eBassGuitar.com. There's a full walking bass course, so if you want to learn concepts we're discussing today right from the ground upwards, that's the place to do it. There's a link for both of those resources in the description below. Cheers, I've been James from eBassGuitar.com, and I'll catch you next time.